a very famous story that took place a number of years ago of being miuchas and being bishtika and accepting it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to pay you back. There's a hall in Eretz Yisrael in Yerushalayim called Ulamei Tamir. That's what it's called, Tamir. So the Tamir halls, they have, if you've ever been there, they have two levels. They have the upper level for the upper class, and they have the lower level for the people who can't afford it. It's just the way it is. It's like somebody, I one time saw Rav Hanach Teller in his book, he had these cartoons. So I remember seeing this when I was 12 years old. What's the difference between the upper class and the lower class? The upper class is just a bunch of old crumbs held together by dough. It's a great line. But the upper crust, the upper class, they're just they have all these beautiful things, chandeliers and windows and draperies. It's beautiful, very classy. And the bottom one is also nice, but it's not as beautiful as the top one. So what happened was, there was a young girl, she was going out, and she found her bashert, and she was so excited, came from Yerushalayim, and she wanted to book her wedding in Tamir. So they called up, and we'll just give a name. Her name was Goldstein. So her name was, I don't know, Hindi Goldstein. So Hindi Goldstein was so excited that her wedding was coming up. She always dreamt of having in the Ulamei Tamir, and her parents were pretty well-to-do, so they were going to rent the upper part. So they turn to the manager and they say, so can we rent the house? Oh yeah, we're wide open. You choose the date, any date. I have all these open because you were Chachame ben Roshah, you saw when you're probably going to get married. So when do you anticipate? Okay, fine. Top one. Okay, circle it. They show it, fine. Okay. 2 weeks before the wedding, the manager calls up the Goldstein family and goes, I am so sorry, I have to ask you mechila. Like, yeah. It's like, remember, you came to my office and we circled? Yeah. Remember I told you you're getting the top? Yeah. There seems to be an error. What do you mean an error? He says, when I circled, I was so excited and I had so much open and available, I didn't realize that what I was circling was not the top one, I was circling the bottom one. And one of my managers, a few weeks ago, unbeknownst to me, saw that the top one was open and another family took it. I'm really so sorry. I said, well, what's the family's name? He said, the family's name, making up a name, is the family Simantov. Oh, we know the Simantovs. Okay, we'll call them up. They call them up. They explain the situation. It's quiet. Hello? Yeah. We're really sorry, but it really means a lot to our daughter to have the upstairs one, and I'm sorry. I mean, we already told everyone. But what do you mean? We also told everyone too. I'm sorry, Mr. Simantov told Mr. Goldstein. I'm really sorry, but we have the top one. I'm really sorry. So Mr. Goldstein, to his great credit, instead of making a fight, he didn't want to do that. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't like machloket, he likes shalom. So he said, you know what? I'm not going to make a big deal about it. I'm just going to keep quiet. If Hashem wants me to get the bottom one, he went to his daughter and to his wife. He said, listen, Hashem obviously wants us to have that. Kol atchala kashod. This is the beginning of a great, beautiful marriage. That's it. We're not going to talk about it anymore. We're getting the bottom one, and we're just going to make do, and that's what Hashem wants from us. Listen to this story. After the wedding was over, Mr. Goldstein comes over to the hall manager and he pulls out his checkbook to write out a check. The hall manager puts his hand on top of the checkbook and says, Habibi, al tichtav mashu, don't write anything. It's like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? It's like, let me tell you a story, Mr. Goldstein. You're not going to believe this. He said, we have two levels. We have the top level and the bottom level. The top level is for the wealthier people. The bottom level is not necessarily wealthier people. The night of your wedding, tonight, I got a phone call from a very wealthy American businessman who told me his thing is hachnasat kala. He wants to pay for chatan and kala that you normally can't afford it. So he said, I remember when I was at Bachur in Yeshiva, I used to go to these different events, and they sometimes had in Ulamei Tamir, they would have in Tamir halls, they would have that. I knew there was a top and a bottom. I knew the bottom one was people who unfortunately couldn't afford a wedding, but they needed a place. He said, I just made a tremendously profitable business deal, an unbelievable venture that went so good. And I made a neder that if Hashem allows me to give tzedakah, that's going to go to Achnasat Kala in Ulamei Tamir. I'm going to pay for the entire wedding on the bottom floor. So he said, Habibi, your entire wedding was paid for by someone else. Mr. Goldstein couldn't believe that. Unbelievable. He was mivater for someone else, and because of that, his entire wedding got paid. for his daughter, because he didn't want to make a big deal. When you allow shalom, when you are shtika, you keep quiet, you only have bracha, miuchas, only good things. Because you're miuchas. You know when to keep quiet. You know what shidduchim are all about.